Nathan, thanks for taking the time today to come on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Nathan, let's start off. Tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
So my name's Nathan Weston. I own Straight Up Construction. We're a custom home builder in Revelstoke, British Columbia, Canada. And we've been doing that since about 2005, and I joined in about 2016. So about crazy. It's 10 years.
10 years this year. Tell us a bit more about the company. What kind of construction are you doing?
So we're primarily focused on design build of custom homes, but we've branched off into a number of different versions. We've done commercial, we've done some institutional, we've done kind of a wide range. Really, we say custom homes is our niche, but really it's anything that's custom. So we've put a roof over a locomotive that we had to lift and slide 60 feet. We've built massive riding arenas. We've worked on commercial multifamily. So it really is a mixed bag. But really, it's the custom side that we look at.
So Nathan, did the company start off just doing residential and then eventually branched off into these other areas, or were you always open to these different construction builds right from the beginning?
It started off in '05 with my former business partner and owner of the company. Did it for several years, and then primarily was in renovations, the odd new home. And then as I joined, there was a real push to get into the custom homes and really scale the company up.
And how did you end up in the commercial side of things?
It's a small town, so you got to take what comes to you sometimes, and a lot of it is down to connections. So we know people in that field. We had some clients that got into that, so it was kind of a natural progression for us.
And are you servicing just your, give us a radius here, what the work you do and the radius that you do it within?
Right. So Revelstoke is about 5 hours north of Vancouver, 5 hours southwest of Calgary, and there really isn't we don't have any suburbs like you would have in, say, Toronto or Vancouver, that area. So we really stick to the Revelstoke area. There's a small subdivision south of Revelstoke towards the ferry called Shelter Bay. It's about 20-30 minutes south of us. We go there, but we generally stick to the Revelstoke area. It's a population of about 8 to 10,000 people, up somewhere 14,000 depending on the time of year. But yeah, we try not to branch out too far, just because that's our support is with our trades, and if they don't travel, then we don't have success.
Right. And how did you yourself get involved in the business? You mentioned there was your former business partner, so kind of take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so realizing now that it's 10 years ago. So my background's always been in business. I grew up in Revelstoke, born and raised, did the typical juicing cookie stand when you were a kid, and got kind of mad when my mom started charging me for the ingredients, and realizing real quickly what cost of goods meant. And that progressed through high school. I had a paintball company in high school. It's now a subdivision here in Revelstoke, and then worked in the sawmill, and they laid off the graveyard shift was laid off, and it's never come back. So it's kind of an indication of the forestry sector. And so my dad, who worked at CP, found a guy that had owned Little Caesars, and so consequently we decided, hey, well, don't have any work, so I might as well buy a pizza shop. How hard can it be? And so we ran that for 7 years, and about a year after that, I got into construction, because ironically, pizza doesn't pay as well as the trades, but got into that. My dad was also worked for a construction company, so my younger brother, and we got on building what's now the Sutton Hotel in Revelstoke, and kind of the natural progression from there. Got into the industry and really just enjoyed creating things, and always wanted to figure out how to price homes, figure out the business side of the construction industry. And so I knew our former business partner. I knew him, and kind of bugged him every once in a while. I was like, hey, how do you price this? How do you price this? And he eventually just said, you know what, like, just come price this house with me. So we priced it out. It was an old house. It was a nice house, but we were using literally like pen and paper takeoff of every single stud on like this massive Excel spreadsheet. And it's just like, oh man. I mean, we never got the job, but it kind of gave a taste. And then a little while after that, he's like, hey, just come work with us, and basically gave me half of the company. The company wasn't big, so it wasn't really a buy-in type thing, but essentially got half of the company. And so for the next couple of years, just kind of learned the ropes and learn how to estimate, or his version of doing it anyways. And then we started building up the company of how we wanted to do things. And then from there, just about 2018 was when I really started kind of doing more project management type things. I had gotten my project management ticket. I had my red seal as a journeyman carpenter, and just from there kept going. And kind of in between that period, while we still own the pizza shop, so we've ended the pizza shop in 2013. Then after that, I don't know where I went after that. Pizza shop, went to work up north, because everybody has to do a stint up north to appreciate being at home. And then a buddy of mine asked me if I wanted to go work in Africa for a little while. So I went and did that as a construction supervisor. It's a whole different world over there. And then came home, worked for another couple of construction companies. And then that's kind of when we got into like, hey, let's just go this route. And not working for a T4 is definitely, it's got its pluses and minuses, let's put it that way. But definitely not something I'd ever go back to is working for a T4. Set your own hours. They can be all hours of the day.
And typically they are. Tell us a little bit about some of the lessons that you had the pizza franchise. You did the Africa thing. You got an early lesson from your mom about cost of goods sold. So did all of those kind of come together when you really got involved in this business all in kind of 10 years ago? Did you take lessons from all those different past experiences and apply them?
I mean, I hope I did. I think the biggest one is knowing your numbers, and you really gotta shift from being a business, or from being in the business to working on the business. So right now I have two business coaches that I work with. I kind of laughed at having a business coach years ago, and then here I am with two of them. So kind of tells you what's important. But it's really comes down to like knowing your numbers, knowing what is profitable. So being busy doesn't mean that you're profitable. Being busy means that money's hopefully running through the books, but being profitable is the important part. And one of the biggest things that we're looking at right now is how do you make sure that your business runs without you, and how do you make sure that you're not just having a job with overhead? Because if the business doesn't run without you, then you literally have a job with overhead, and you could just go work for somebody else and not have all the stress.
Have you ever read the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber?
Yeah, I've read the E-Myth, or I think there's a lot of people that are technicians that decide, hey, let's go start a business. How hard can it be? And really, it's not hard, but it's the difference between, a mom and pop shop versus a business that actually runs. And to be able to, we all joke about, set your own hours. What they say, be your own, start your own business. They said, set your own hours. They said, do whatever you want. It's like, yeah, well, that's true if you have systems in place, if you have the right people in place. I think another great book that I've read is Good to Great by Jim Collins, another really good one. And a big thing that he said is finding the right people, getting them in the right seats before you start driving the bus. And there's definitely a lot of wisdom in that, of finding finding the right people that you want to be with. We're not a huge company, so every addition, subtraction is a huge culture change, for the better or for the worse. So we're very, very cautious of that.
Take us through your a bit of your hiring process. You're a small team, so I understand what you mean. If you're someone's listening, they have a 10-person team, and one person quits. Well, that's like 10% turnover of your entire team, right? So that's the way you got to look at it. I've run very small businesses. I've run larger businesses, and the difference in a small business is impactful when someone leaves. Whereas a larger business, you can tend to absorb that. So, do you have any advice you'd give to someone that currently owns a small business that may be struggling a little bit with that kind of hiring process?
Don't hire quick. I think that we had a period of time where we needed to ramp up. We needed more field guys, and so it was kind of a take anybody that had a heartbeat in that sense. And looking back, it's definitely not worth it. So I waited. We had a particular team member that left us for a period of time, for about a year, and looked for somebody to fill that position. It was a position that was kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of positions, kind of like a mini me in a sense, with wearing lots of hats. And for a year, I think it was at least a year, we kind of looked around. We tried to put out an ad, couldn't really put out an ad because it was like, basically you're trying to hire a unicorn. And eventually actually was able to get that person back. But it was one of those key things where it was like, okay, I would rather wait and get the right person in the spot than to just hire. I think the stats are like it's 5-to-1 cost for when you got to do a rehire, because you got to train them, you got to get them up to speed, and then they leave, and then you got to start over again. And so it's very much a slow to hire. Trust your gut. Do the interview process well. Don't talk about yourself. Listen to them. If you see red flags, like just it's not worth it. And it's hard in a market where people think that there's so many jobs out there and there's so much opportunity. And I would rather find people that I'd rather stay small, in the sense of like a small tight team that gets it, than to branch out and add, because you can definitely see the productivity in people that have that ownership mentality. And especially with all this AI stuff coming out, right? Like all those low level jobs, sadly, are going to be automated soon. So you want people, I think more and more people are, as business owners, we're looking for those that add value to the business, because we want to be here for the long haul, and we want to have people that have maybe not skin in the game, but they get it, that it's not just a 9-to-5 type job. Like the stress of keeping people employed is a real deal.
But it's challenging though, isn't it, Nathan? You've got a business to run. You've got customers coming in. You need to fulfill on those orders, whether you're service or product-based business. You're short-staffed, and you do want to kind of knee-jerk hire. But I agree with you, boy. If you can at all delay that to make sure you get the right person, it's going to pay dividends down the road, short-term and long-term.
Mm-hmm. And part of that too is you want to find the people that want to work for you more than just the paycheck. So one of our goals is to restore confidence in the construction industry by changing the way that people experience construction, because everybody gets such a bad rap in construction, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to get screwed over. It's been a terrible experience, etc. And we want to be the premier builder. We want to set the bar for what that truly means because of the investment. And I think if you're projecting that vision out, then the people that want to do that are going to follow that. If you just have hey, we sell pizzas, that's not an aspiring dream, right? But you can still sell the same thing. It's like, we satisfy the taste buds of whatever, like, you frame it differently. And that's where you find the people that really thrive when they find the right spot, which goes back to what Jim Collins says about getting the right people in the right spot. Like, you can have a great team member, but you might have them in the wrong spot in your company, right? They might be doing something they just can't stand, and you think that they're a terrible employee. Well, actually, you just got them in the wrong spot. If you move them around a couple times and they still aren't pulling it, then yeah, you've probably got the wrong person. But yeah, slow to hire, trust your gut, but give them something to give them to shoot for. Give them a path of succession. I'd like to work myself out of a job in a sense. Like, we hired a guy, and he's doing stuff in the last two months, I think. He's smashed out more tasks that I've been trying to do for probably 2 years, partly because he's got the time to do it, and partly because he's just wired a little bit better to do that than me. So that's great. That's what I want. And for me to not have to be in that position or take that role, that's the goal of a business owner, is more to direct than to do the actual work. And I think that's going back to the E-Myth. Technicians, they want to do, and a business owner, you got to stand back and go, okay, we want to get to point C. We know the steps to get through there, but if we're the ones doing all the actual work, then we're limited by basically our capacity and the amount of time we have in a day, which we all know is finite.
Nathan, what advice would you give to someone that's listening that owns a business that's struggling a little bit?
Oh, get out of it. Get out of the day to day, if you can. That's the hardest part. I would say you want to find, if you don't have people that can influence you, say, either a mentor or a coach or just somebody that's further down the line than you, because I think a lot of times, like I've got a guy I've known for about 6 years, and he keeps going back at me. He's like, you've been talking about this for like a while. And I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, no, like a while. I'm like, just you need to go do this. And I'm like, okay. And it's getting that outside perspective. And I was in the service industry too, so I think everybody should have a stint in food at some point, especially as a kid, just to appreciate. I would work 5 days a week, 10-hour days, swinging a hammer, and then go to the pizza shop Friday night, work the Friday night shift, and then either work the Saturday night shift and the Sunday shift, or open to close, depending on what it was, and then back, 30 plus degrees, 40-pound tool belt, swinging a hammer the next week, and just keep going. And when you think of that analogy in business, that's the same thing. As you're so stuck in it that you can't look at and go, like, oh, I can't even hire anybody because I don't even know what I'm looking for. It's like, we shut down the pizza shop on Sundays. We're like, we can't do this. We need time to actually think about this. And so if you're struggling, I would say, if you haven't got people around you, that's step one. You're effectively the summation of the 5 people that you hang around the most. So take a look at the 5 closest, and is that what you want to be? There's your answer there. But really, you want to work on your business, not in your business. So whether you've got to cut some hours short, whether you've got to get around some people. I reached out to a guy that was in the development industry. I think I was 21 or something like that. And it's like, hey, you're doing what I want to do. And like, can I ask you some questions? I think I sat down with him for like an hour. And I asked him, I was like, why would you give me the time of day? Like, you're worth way more than I am. And he's like, because you actually want to learn. And most people don't. Like, most people don't want to put in that effort. And when you find those people, like those are the gems where they've gone through all of the stuff that you've gone through. You can skip the school of hard knocks to some extent when you find people like that have gone through and done it and hey, here's the pitfalls. Had I known, I would have not paid as much as I did for some of these businesses. I would have done things differently. But you don't know if you don't know, and you don't know if you haven't looked to find somebody that's there. So I always look, if you're struggling, look for somebody that is further down the line than you, because they've gotten through whatever it is that you are going through.
And I find too many, especially young entrepreneurs, are hesitant to do this step because they think, oh, this person's, who am I compared to this person? But like you said, if someone is showing a genuine interest to learn, I know I personally will take the time with anybody that does that. And at no charge, I'm just happy to give back in any way I can. If I can save this person months or years or money just by spending an hour with them, I'm happy to do that. And I'm not alone. There's lots of people out there. You're probably in a position, well, I assume you're in a position now to do the same thing for someone that's starting up.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key. Like, if you can find those people, because there's people, don't get me wrong, there's people, and you would know them too, right? They're super successful and they won't give you the time of day. And those aren't the people that you want to be around. I know guys that their net worth is very, very high, and you couldn't even tell, and you can have a normal conversation with them. You can ask them stuff, and there's no complex that you've got to overcome, but you've got to find those guys.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Nathan, we're almost out of time. Before we let you go, where can our listeners and viewers find out more about your company?
So we are on, so our website, as you mentioned, is straightupbuild.ca, and we're on Instagram and Facebook, also at straightupbuild. So you can reach us there. Or if you want to call us, all that information is on the website as well, and we'd love to hear from you.
Great. Thanks so much for doing this today, Nathan. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.